It's my pleasure to be here with all intelligent, dynamic individuals. Hi to Maxim. The first time I met Maxim in person. It was my pleasure to meet with you. My name is Ehsan Arjmand, as Karin mentioned. I am 42 years old. I immigrated to Canada in 2009. I'm a practicing professional engineer, and I have a 9-year-old boy. And if you ask me what would be your top 3 priorities for your son to live in a country, I will always say freedom, freedom, and freedom. And because I experienced some type of life back home in Iran, which I want to talk about it, and I think freedom has been taken for granted in Canada, and there would be a good analogy, like how things get started and where they end up to. So, and then the question comes to mind, so what is freedom? Because if you listen to the speeches of leader of some of the world's most brutal regime, like Islamic Republic of Iran or former regime of Gaddafi or Saddam, you'll hear the word freedom repeated again and again. Yet in those countries, real freedom is the one thing their people lack the most. I want to specifically talk about Iranian regime, like you said, currently is one of the most brutal, repressive government in the world. Before this unholy alliance of leftists and Islamists in 1978 to overthrow the Shah of Iran in a revolution that only 4% of people of Iran participated. The remaining, they were just observing and looking, and they didn't take any action. So that's how important that we know that like how 4% of crazy people can overthrow a country and eliminate the freedom that we are all enjoying. Majority of people were complacent of their freedom. Iran, before this Islamic communist revolution, was a free, rapidly developing nation. Every person, regardless of gender, sex, religion, they had freedom to be part of this country's development. Women, they could be a pilot, they could dance, they could sing. Now this is like a far-fetched dream for Iranian women. Even so, after this revolution, after 46 of that, Iranian paid a lot of price. Only last year, we had 1,000 executions, the highest number in the world in Iran. And a lot of activists like Kianish Sanjari have died under extremely suspicious circumstances, and we don't put those numbers, include them to that 1,000. So my point is, and then after all, leaders like Khamenei declares himself the ultimate arbitrator of truth, claiming to understand the real meaning of freedom. But in reality, their definition of freedom involves a state-controlled media, forced narrative, and brutal punishment for dissent, including imprisonment, censorship, and execution. So I just try to give you a picture about what Iran used to be and how it became overnight and rapidly. And sadly, Iran is not an exception. Canada is not an exception. We are all countries. Canadians, they think it never comes to them, but it comes. Because across the world, we've seen how free societies can fall into dictatorship. It often happens gradually through the slow erosion of free speech, the manipulation of media, and prosecution of truth tellers. Eventually, only one ideology is tolerated, and anyone who thinks differently is punished. So I think we can all relate to it right now. So how things get started. As an Iranian Canadian, I'm deeply concerned about the path Canada has taken over the last decade. Because, as I mentioned, as history teaches us a hard truth, a government that controls the narrative cannot be trusted to protect freedom. They co-opt the language of liberty to consolidate power, and when they challenge, they unleash well-funded, coordinated propaganda machines, often paid for with our tax dollars, to discredit, demonize, and cancel those who speak out. In the most extreme cases, dissenters are silenced permanently. That's why I'm proud to stand with People Party of Canada, the party committed to repeal Bill C-11, a bill that gives the federal government sweeping power to control media and online content. It is a bill that legalizes censorship and threatens freedom of speech in the name of regulations. Also, as an Iranian Canadian, something else is really bothering me, and I want to talk about it. It's about Islamophobia and Islamist ideology. No one understands the destructive force of Islamist ideology when they gain power better than Iranian people. We watched it collapse a free and progressive nation almost overnight. Speaking the truth about this is not Islamophobia, it is historical fact. And yet, liberal NDP introduced motion M103, a motion that condemns religion discrimination, but specifically mentions only one religion, Islam, and fails to even define the term Islamophobia. Let me be clear. This is not about the religion. This is not about something that some Muslim people, they want to practice privately. I'm talking about oppressive ideology that silence legitimate voices under guise of tolerance. The PPC is committed to repeal M103 to protect freedom of speech for me, for you, and for all our kids. Over the last decade, what many now call Canada's lost decade, the Liberal NDP have worked tirelessly to chip away at our freedom, and we simply cannot afford to give them another term. But the truth is, even the Conservative Party have followed a similar path. Pierre Poilievre has repeatedly refused to engage with respected independent voices, for example, Patrick Bet-David and Alex Jones, figures with wide audience and serious influence. Meanwhile, some of his long-time conservative supporters dismiss these voices as far-right, which is unfortunately has become a modern code word for anyone who dares to challenge the status quo. Here's the truth. Here's my message to Pierre Poilievre. Here, you are either pro-freedom and open to new voices, or you are not. Standing in the middle of the road is dangerous. You risk getting hit from both sides. It's a Margaret Thatcher famous quote. Yeah. That's why I firmly believe that the PPC is the only party that truly stands for freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of thought, and freedom of practicing your own shit, whatever you want to do. Yes. I'm proud to be part of PPC movement. We believe in freedom of conscience and freedom of expression are maximally protected. And I have to repeat it again. We believe when freedom of conscience and freedom of expression are maximally protected, a nation thrives. It strengthens our intellectual life, encourages ideological diversity, fosters greater understanding, and lays the foundation for all other freedoms that make democracy truly works. Thank you very much.
Thank you.